Nora Bell moved quietly through the grand halls of Westbridge Academy of Arts, her worn sneakers squeaking faintly against the marble floors. At 29, she wore the deep blue custodial uniform like armor, clean, unassuming, invisible. Most days, no one looked at her twice. Her job was simple: clear trash bins, polish brass railings, and keep the gleaming practice room spotless. Though she was surrounded by music, no one suspected her connection to it. Nora's dark hair was always pulled back into a tidy knot, and her hands, rough from cleaning solvents, betrayed nothing of their former elegance on ivory keys. For the past 4 years, she'd passed unnoticed beneath portraits of composers and prodigies, blending into the background like the dust she cleared. One morning, she paused near a cracked portrait of a composer to adjust its frame. As she did, a student stumbled through scales in a nearby room. Nora's lips moved silently, tracing the notes, correcting the rhythm with muscle memory that never faded. But when she softly offered advice to the frustrated child, it wasn't met with gratitude. Ms. Langford, the Academy's star piano instructor, overheard, and made sure Nora remembered her place. The evening of the annual gala at Westbridge Academy of Arts began in a flurry of activity. Nora Bell moved through the reception hall, straightening programs on the registration desk and polishing the brass chandelier fixtures. Suddenly, Ms. Langford stormed in, phone pressed to her ear, face pale. "Food poisoning," she snapped. "Celeste Harper is in the hospital." Dr. Camden's poise shattered, her meticulously arranged seating plan lay in disarray. Marcus Gray, the board chair of the Graydon Trust, swept into the room, scanning the panic-stricken staff. "We cannot postpone," he insisted. "Our donors expect Ravel's Toccata tonight." Leo Martinez, a kind-hearted teaching assistant who often greeted Nora with a warm nod, stepped forward hesitantly. I have heard someone else play that piece beautifully." All eyes turned toward Nora, who was dusting a nearby display case. Ms. Langford laughed harshly. "Our janitor? Do you really think she can tackle that fiendish toccata?" Leo's voice grew steadier. "After hours, I've heard her practicing in the empty hall. She knows every nuance." Dr. Camden exchanged a wary glance with Gray. "It's highly irregular," she murmured, but the desperation in her tone betrayed her. Marcus Gray nodded thoughtfully. "In the spirit of community outreach, it may even delight our patrons, showing that talent can be found in unexpected places." Ms. Langford's eyes narrowed, but she said nothing more. Silence fell as Dr. Camden turned to Nora. "Miss Bell, could you step in for our soloist?" Nora's heart pounded. She lowered her duster, cheeks flushed. For a brief moment, the world seemed to hold its breath, waiting for her answer. Nora Bell stood motionless, duster in hand, as the assembled trio of Dr. Camden, Ms. Langford, and Marcus Gray regarded her expectantly. The ornate reception hall, once her sanctuary for silent labor, suddenly felt like an interrogation chamber. Every polished marble surface reflected her crisp blue uniform and name tag. She drew a slow breath. "Miss Bell," Dr. Camden began, her tone almost gentle, "we understand this is unconventional. But if you refuse, we may have to reconsider your position here." The implication was clear: comply or risk unemployment. Nora's mind flicked back to the countless times she had endured scorn in these very corridors. She recalled the sting of Ms. Langford's jibes, the snickers behind her back. And yet, beneath her uniform lay the hands of a pianist who had once dreamed of concert stages. Ms. Langford crossed her arms, lips curled in derision. "I hope you grasp the technical demands of Ravel's Toccata in G minor. It is not a parlor trick." Nora lifted her chin, voice steady despite the tremor in her chest. "I know the piece," she said quietly. "I learned it years ago." Silence engulfed them. For a heartbeat, only distant murmurs of gala preparations echoed through the hall. Then Marcus Gray spoke, his voice calm and decisive. "Very well. We'll need a run-through in 30 minutes. Leo, please escort Miss Bell to the Steinbach Grand for a quick rehearsal." Leo offered Nora a reassuring smile as he led her down the service corridor. The backstage passages were dim and narrow, a stark contrast to the glittering foyer she had just left. But with each step, Nora felt a curious resolve hardening within her. She passed racks of stage lighting and crates of floral arrangements, her footsteps light as feathers. In the practice room, the Steinbach concert grand gleamed under a single spotlight. Nora approached it reverently, as if greeting an old friend. She lifted the lid and pressed a single key, deep, resonant, alive. Memories flooded back, afternoons at her grandmother's modest upright piano, the patient guidance of faded sheet music, the thrill of mastering a difficult passage. Behind her, Leo cleared his throat. "Time's almost up." Nora settled onto the bench, closed her eyes, and exhaled. The first bars of Toccata emerged in her mind, crisp and precise. She placed her fingers on the keys and began. Each note rang out cleanly, filling the small room with the music she had practiced in secrecy. The arpeggios danced, the brass-like chords thundered, and Nora's confidence swelled. Leo watched, mouth agape, as she navigated the demanding sections without hesitation. When she finished, silence reigned, then Leo's whispered, "That was extraordinary." Nora opened her eyes, her reflection framed by the polished rim of the piano. For the first time since she'd taken this job, she felt seen, not as a custodian, but as a musician capable of rising to the moment. Back in the grand hall, guests in evening attire milled about under crystal chandeliers. Nora stood just off stage, her uniform crisp and incongruous against the glittering gowns and tuxedos. A single spotlight marked the Steinbach Grand awaiting its soloist. Her pulse thundered in her ears as Leo hovered nearby, straightening sheet music. Dr. Camden stepped to the microphone, composed on the outside but her voice betraying nerves. "Ladies and gentlemen, due to unforeseen circumstances, our scheduled soloist, Celeste Harper, cannot perform. However, in the spirit of artistic community, we present a special performance by one of our own staff." A ripple of polite murmurs flowed through the audience. Nora walked onto the stage, each step echoing in the hushed hall. A few skeptical titters drifted from the back rows. "Ms. Langford watched from the wings, arms folded and lips pursed. Nora's heart threatened to burst with anxiety, but she recalled her grandmother's words, "Music transcends labels." She seated herself, adjusted the music rack, and glanced at the first measure of Ravel's Toccata in G minor. The opening chords rang out, clear and commanding. Instantly, the laughter faded, listeners leaned forward, curiosity sparking their gaze. Nora's fingers danced through the rapid passages, each note measured and expressive. In the front row, Marcus Gray's distinguished features softened as he recognized the control and passion behind each phrase. Nearby, a renowned critic, Elias Reed, sat with arms crossed, until the delicate central theme emerged, and his stern expression melted into rapt attention. Dr. Camden peered through her lorgnette, eyes wide with surprise. The toccata's thunderous climax approached. Nora summoned every ounce of strength, her hands flying across the keyboard in a cascade of sound. The hall seemed to vibrate with the music's energy, resonating through the marble walls and gilded balconies. Each listener held their breath as she teased out every nuance, from playful staccatos to majestic fortissimos. When the final chord thundered, silence fell like a velvet curtain. For 3 suspended heartbeats, no one moved. Then the hush shattered as applause erupted, tentative at first, then building into a triumphant roar. Guests leapt to their feet, chairs scraping as they joined the standing ovation. Nora remained seated for a moment, overwhelmed by the thunderous acclaim. Elias Reed rose from his seat, eyes shining. He approached the stage, the crowd parted respectfully. "Miss Bell," he called above the din, "your performance was nothing short of revelatory. May I inquire where you received your formal training?" Nora rose, bowing her head with quiet dignity. "No formal conservatory," she replied softly. "My grandmother taught me everything." The audience murmured in admiration as Marcus Gray and Dr. Camden exchanged awed glances. Even Ms. Langford's expression had softened into reluctant respect. As Nora stepped off stage amidst accolades, she realized the world had shifted. In that single performance, she had transformed from an unseen custodian into an artist whose music could captivate, and whose story would inspire. In the aftermath of her breathtaking debut, Nora Bell found herself at the center of an adoring crowd. Patrons approached with congratulations, some brushed away tears, others shook her hand warmly. Marcus Gray, his customary reserve melted, placed a firm hand on her shoulder. "Miss Bell, the Graydon Trust would be honored if you would head our new Music Access initiative," he announced. Dar. Camden, still catching her breath, added, "Your performance demonstrated not only mastery but a profound understanding of music's power to unite. We need your guidance for young artists who lack opportunity." Leo Martinez beamed at Nora from across the foyer, clutching 2 glasses of sparkling cider in celebration. As she navigated the well-wishers, Ms. Langford intercepted her, expression unreadable. "I owe you an apology," she said quietly. "I judged you too harshly. Your talent, it's undeniable." Nora inclined her head, offering forgiveness more readily than words. Later, in a quieter corridor, Elias Reed, the critic-turned-conductor, caught up to her. He looked her in the eye with genuine respect. "Nora, I've been invited to guest conduct the Academy Orchestra this season. I'd be honored if you would perform with us as a featured soloist. And perhaps teach a masterclass." Nora's uniform still bore faint smudges from her morning's work, but no one seemed to notice. In their eyes, she was no longer the janitor but a musician whose artistry transcended circumstance. That evening, she sat at the Steinbach Grand once more, this time to plan the curriculum for underprivileged students. Her mind wandered to the past, the day she declined Juilliard to care for her ailing grandmother, the quiet resolve that kept her practicing in empty halls, the solace she found in each note. Now, she could honor those sacrifices by offering mentorship and access to others who faced barriers. In the days that followed, Nora met with Graydon Trust trustees to outline scholarship criteria, arranged workshops for community centers, and began rehearsals for her first concert as a paid artist. Westbridge's corridors, once her domain of dust cloths and polish, now buzzed with anticipation. Students and faculty alike greeted her warmly, seeking her guidance. Through it all, Nora remained grounded. She never forgot the invisible years, the hidden practice sessions, or the sting of derision. Those memories fueled her commitment to ensure no talent remained overlooked. She drafted letters to local schools, inviting talented children to audition for instruments, arranging for free lessons and instrument loans. One crisp morning, she paused at the academy's front steps, looking up at the familiar facade. The plaque above the door read Westbridge Academy of Arts. Below it, a small handwritten sign now announced Music Access Initiative, applications open. Nora smiled. The door that once obscured her dreams now stood wide open for countless others. 3 months into her role with the Music Access Initiative, Nora Bell's life had transformed in ways she had scarcely dared imagine. Gone were the days when she navigated Westbridge's halls unseen. Now, students waved and called her name as she passed. Her uniform had been replaced by simple, but elegant attire suited to her new position as mentor and performer. Each afternoon, she guided a group of eager adolescents through technique drills and ensemble rehearsals in the Academy's practice rooms. These students, talented youth from underfunded schools, arrived shy, unsure of their place in the musical world. Nora greeted them with warmth. Music is about expression, not perfection. She encouraged them to embrace mistakes as learning opportunities, recalling her own hidden rehearsals late at night. On weekends, Nora led outreach workshops at community centers. She taught basic piano technique, introduced orchestral instruments, and shared her story of resilience. Parents watched in amazement as their children unlocked new abilities, building confidence not only in music but in themselves. Local press covered the initiative favorably, praising Westbridge's commitment to inclusivity and Nora's inspiring leadership. Meanwhile, Leo Martinez continued as her assistant, managing logistics and providing that familiar nod of encouragement. Together, they organized the initiative's first showcase concert, featuring the students alongside Westbridge faculty. Nora selected Ravel's Toccata as the opening piece, an homage to the performance that changed her life. As she rehearsed, she felt both nostalgia and gratitude. The piece no longer defined her, but it remained a symbol of triumph. The evening of the showcase arrived. The auditorium brimmed with proud families, donors, and academy staff. When Nora and the student ensemble took the stage, the applause was thunderous. She looked into the sea of faces, bright-eyed children whose futures she had helped reshape, and felt a surge of purpose. In her opening address, Nora spoke candidly: art shouldn't be limited by circumstance. Talent deserves opportunity. Then, joined by her protégés, she launched into the Toccata's opening bars. The hall resonated not only with the familiar brilliance of Ravel's work but with the hopeful energy of emerging artists. Afterwards, donors approached her with renewed commitment to fund scholarships. Dr. Camden and Ms. Langford, now allies rather than adversaries, congratulated her on forging a program that honored Westbridge's legacy while expanding its reach. Even Marcus Gray expressed admiration for the initiative's rapid impact. That night, as Nora walked home under soft streetlights, she reflected on her journey, from invisible custodian to celebrated musician and mentor. Her grandmother's memory guided her: music is who you are when the world fades away. Now, Nora's true symphony was the collective harmony of every student she empowered, proof that, when given the chance, unexpected talent can change lives and transform institutions forever.